The lecture hall of the Galactic Academy of Xenobiology was large enough to hold 300 students. But today, only 42 seats were filled. The room curved downward like a bowl, with rows of seats arranged in half circles facing a raised platform at the center. Above the platform, a massive holographic display floated in the air. Currently showing the spinning logo of the Academy, Professor Velkith walked into the room, exactly as the clock struck the hour. He was a Sorvani, a species known for their intelligence and their distinctive appearance. His body was covered in shimmering blue scales that changed color slightly when light hit them from different angles. 4 compound eyes sat on his elongated face, each one capable of focusing independently. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, and his thin arms ended in hands with 6 delicate fingers each. The students fell silent as he approached the central platform. There were creatures of all shapes and sizes in the room. Crixians with their massive tentacles coiled beneath their floating bodies. Filari covered in soft fur with large ears that swiveled to catch every sound. Velanthi made of living stone, their voices like grinding rocks, and many others from across the galaxy. In the third row, sitting between a Crixian and a small Filari, was something unusual. A human female. Her name was Lucy Marsh, and she was 26 years old. She had come to the Academy 6 months ago as part of an exchange program, the first of her kind to study at this institution. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the same gray uniform as everyone else. Her eyes were a soft brown color, and she had a habit of smiling at small things that confused her. Classmates. The Filari beside her was named Senna. She was barely 3 feet tall, with silver fur and eyes like polished copper coins. Over the past months, she had become Lucy's closest friend at the Academy. At first, Senna had been afraid of the human. Everyone had heard stories about Earth and its creatures. But Lucy had been kind and patient, and slowly Senna had learned that humans were not the monsters the rumors suggested, or so she had thought. Professor Velkith activated the holographic display with a wave of his 6-fingered hand. The Academy logo disappeared, replaced by an image of a small blue and green planet spinning slowly against the blackness of space. "Today," the professor announced, his voice translated into the common tongue by the small device attached to his throat, "we will examine the newly cataloged species from Sector 7G. Specifically, we will study the dominant life form of the third planet in the Sol system." The image zoomed in on the planet, showing swirling white clouds, vast blue oceans, and continents covered in green and brown. "Call themselves humans," Velkith continued, "and they call their world Earth." A tentacle rose from the middle of the room. It belonged to Thalmer, a Crixian student known for asking many questions. His body was a mass of purple tentacles surrounding a central core, with 3 black eyes arranged in a triangle on what passed for his face. Professor Thalmer said, his voice wet and bubbling, "I have heard rumors about this species. There are stories spreading through the Academy. Are they truly as dangerous as the preliminary reports suggest?" Velkith's scales shifted from blue to a slightly darker shade, a sign of careful thought among his kind. "That is precisely what we are here to determine. The Galactic Council recently completed a full biological survey of Earth. As part of that survey, they compiled what they call an Apex Predator Index. This is a ranking of the most dangerous creatures on the planet, based on lethality, adaptability, and ecological dominance." He gestured toward the display, and a numbered list appeared. Though the entries were still hidden, we will review this list today and discuss what it means for our understanding of humans and their world. Sina leaned closer to Lucy and whispered, "This should be interesting. I wonder if they ranked your species at all." Lucy smiled slightly but said nothing. Her eyes remained fixed on the display. Professor Velkith began his lecture in earnest. "Earth is a remarkable world. It is slightly smaller than average for life-bearing planets, with a single large moon that stabilizes its rotation. The planet has a breathable atmosphere composed primarily of nitrogen and oxygen, with trace amounts of other gases. Surface temperatures range from -89 degrees standard to +57 degrees. Depending on location and season, a Velanthi student named Kor made a grinding sound that indicated surprise. Such extreme variation. How does any life survive there? That is an excellent question, Velkith replied. Earth's life forms have evolved to handle these extremes in ways that defy conventional biological models. The planet has produced over 8 million distinct species. From microscopic organisms to massive ocean-dwelling creatures, competition for resources is fierce. Predation is constant. Evolution on Earth is not a gentle process. It is a war. The display changed to show various images of Earth's environments. Frozen wastelands covered in ice. Scorching deserts where nothing seemed to grow. Dense jungles so thick that sunlight never reached the ground. Vast oceans stretching to every horizon. Every environment on Earth, Velkith continued, has produced predators, hunters, killers. The planet is a crucible of death, and only the strongest, fastest, and smartest creatures survive. Lucy noticed that several students were looking at her with new expressions. Fear, perhaps, or curiosity. She kept her face calm and attentive, as if the professor were discussing some distant world she had never seen. Senna's fur had flattened slightly against her body, sign of unease among her kind. "Lucy," she whispered, "why did you never tell me your world was like this?" "You never asked," Lucy whispered back. "Besides, it is home. I never thought it was unusual." Professor Velkith raised one of his six-fingered hands. "Before we examine the Apex Predator Index, I want to establish some context. The research team that compiled this list spent 3 years studying Earth. They sent observation drones to every continent and every ocean. They analyzed millions of hours of footage. They consulted historical records dating back thousands of years." He paused, his 4 compound eyes blinking in sequence. "What they found," he said slowly, "changed everything we thought we knew about life in the universe. Earth is not simply a dangerous world. It is arguably the most dangerous world ever discovered, and the creatures that live there are not merely survivors. They are warriors, shaped by millions of years of constant conflict." The display showed a single line of text: Apex Predator Index, Planet Earth. "Let us begin," Velkith said. The list began to populate with entries, starting from the bottom and working upward. Numbers 20 through 11 appeared first, each one accompanied by an image and basic statistics. Lucy watched the reactions of her classmates as creatures from her homeworld appeared on the screen. Saltwater crocodiles, great white sharks, African elephants, Komodo dragons. Each one drew gasps or murmurs of disbelief. But Lucy knew these were only the beginning. The real surprises were yet to come. She placed her hand on her stomach, a gesture so subtle that no one noticed. Inside her, barely 6 weeks old, a new life was growing. A secret she had not yet shared with anyone. Soon, she thought, the galaxy would learn what humans were truly capable of. And more importantly, they would learn what human mothers were willing to do. The lecture continued, and the list climbed higher. Professor Velkith moved his hand through the air, and the holographic display responded. The first entries on the Apex Predator Index expanded, showing detailed information about each creature. "Number 20 on the list," the professor announced, "is the saltwater crocodile. This is an armored reptilian predator that lives in the coastal regions and rivers of Earth's southern continents." An image appeared showing a massive creature with rough, scaled skin and a long snout filled with teeth. The crocodile was lying on a muddy riverbank, its eyes half closed in the sunlight. "This creature has a bite force exceeding 16,000 newtons," Velkith continued. "To put that in perspective, the strongest bite force we have recorded from any species in the galactic community is approximately 8,000 newtons, belonging to the creth-hunting beasts of the Outer Rim." The display showed the crocodile in motion, exploding from the water to grab a large animal drinking at the river's edge. The attack was so fast that Lucy heard several students gasp in shock. "The saltwater crocodile has remained virtually unchanged for over 200 million years, Velkith said. "It is a perfect killing machine. Evolution found no way to improve it." Thalmer's tentacles coiled tighter around his body. This creature has existed for 200 million years. How is that possible? Because nothing on Earth could kill it efficiently enough to force it to change. The professor replied simply. The list continued upward. Number 18 was the African lion, a social predator that hunted in groups called prides. Number 17 was the grizzly bear, capable of running at speeds that would catch most vehicles. Number 16 was the hippopotamus, which the research team had noted was responsible for more human deaths in Africa than lions and crocodiles combined. Wait, Cor interrupted, his stone voice grinding with confusion. The hippopotamus is a plantator. The data says it consumes vegetation. How can a plantator be more deadly than a predator? Professor Velketh's scales shifted to a paler shade of blue. Because the hippopotamus is extremely territorial and extremely aggressive. It does not kill for food. It kills because other creatures exist near its space. It will attack boats, land vehicles, and any living thing that comes too close. Its jaws can bite a crocodile in half. The room fell silent as the students processed this information. Number 15 was the great white shark. The display showed it swimming through dark water, a torpedo of muscle and teeth. This creature can detect a single drop of blood from nearly 5 kilometers away, Velketh narrated. It can breach the water surface at speeds of 40 kilometers per hour while hunting. Its teeth are arranged in rows, so when one tooth breaks, another moves forward to replace it. A single great white shark can go through 20,000 teeth in its lifetime. Sina made a small sound of distress. Her ears had folded backward against her skull. The oceans of Earth sound like death itself. Lucy leaned closer to her friend. We swim in those oceans for fun, she said quietly. It is considered relaxing. Sina stared at her with wide copper eyes, clearly unsure if Lucy was joking. The list climbed higher. Number 12 was the cone snail, a small sea creature whose venom could kill 20 humans with a single sting. Number 11 was the Brazilian wandering spider, whose bite caused intense pain, paralysis, and death if untreated. Number 10, Velketh announced, is the polar bear. This is the largest land predator on Earth. The display showed a massive white creature walking across frozen ice. It looked almost peaceful, its thick fur blowing in the Arctic wind. The polar bear can survive in temperatures that would kill most galactic species within minutes. It can swim for hundreds of kilometers through freezing water. It fears nothing, because on its frozen territory nothing is capable of threatening it. Polar bears have been documented hunting humans for food. A Falari student in the front row raised her paw. Professor, you said humans are the dominant species on Earth. How can they be dominant if other creatures hunt them? Another excellent question, Velketh replied. Humans are dominant not because they are immune to predation, but because they have learned to fight back. They have developed tools, weapons, and strategies to overcome every predator on their planet. In some cases, humans have hunted entire species to extinction. The display showed a historical image of humans with primitive weapons facing down a massive woolly mammoth. Then another image of humans with more advanced weapons. Then another with modern technology. Humans adapt, Velketh said. They learn. They remember. And they pass their knowledge to their offspring. A creature that kills a human today may find itself facing organized hunting parties tomorrow. No predator on Earth is truly safe from human retaliation. Number 7 was the inland taipan, a snake whose single bite contained enough venom to kill 100 adult humans. Number 6 was the African elephant, capable of destroying vehicles and buildings when angered. Number 5, the professor said. His voice growing quieter, is the box jellyfish. The display showed a translucent creature floating in blue water. It looked delicate, almost beautiful, with long trailing tentacles drifting behind it. This creature has no brain, Velketh explained. It has no blood. It has no bones. It has no central nervous system. By most biological definitions, it barely qualifies as an animal, and yet its venom can kill a fully grown human in under 4 minutes. There is no reliable antidote. Humans who see this creature in the water often cannot escape in time, because the tentacles can extend for 3 meters in every direction. The class sat in stunned silence. A brainless creature that could kill the dominant species in 4 minutes. Number 4 is the assassin bug. which carries a parasite that has infected approximately 7 million humans and kills tens of thousands each year. Number 3. Velkith paused, his 4 compound eyes focusing on the display. Number 3 is the mosquito. A tiny insect appeared on the screen. It was so small that the display had to magnify it several hundred times to make it visible. It had thin legs, transparent wings, and a long needle-like mouth. This creature, Velkith said slowly, is responsible for more human deaths than all wars in human history combined. It transmits diseases that have killed an estimated 50 billion humans across the existence of the human species. The number hung in the air. 50 billion deaths. Kor spoke up, his voice like grinding stones. Professor, if this insect is so deadly, why have humans not exterminated it? You said they have hunted other species to extinction. They have chosen not to, Velkith replied. They are concerned about ecological disruption. They worry that removing the mosquito might harm other species that depend on it for food. Thalmar's tentacles writhed in confusion. They tolerate a creature that has killed 50 billion of their kind because they are worried about ecological balance. Yes, that is insane. Perhaps Velkith agreed. Or perhaps it shows a level of self-control and long-term thinking that we should find deeply concerning. The professor turned back to the display. Number 2 on the apex predator index is the human. Every eye in the room turned briefly toward Lucy before returning to the screen. She kept her expression neutral, her hands folded calmly in her lap. But Professor Senna asked, her voice barely above a whisper, if humans are number 2, what is number 1? Velkith's scales had shifted to an almost white color, a sign of deep unease among the Sorvani. He looked at Lucy for a long moment before answering. That, he said, is where our lecture becomes truly interesting. The lecture hall had grown completely silent. 41 alien students sat frozen in their seats, waiting for Professor Velkith to reveal what could possibly rank higher than the human species. Lucy Marsh remained calm in her seat, though she could feel the tension in the room pressing against her like a physical weight. Professor. Velkith moved his 6-fingered hand through the air, and the holographic display changed. A new entry appeared at the very top of the Apex Predator Index. Marked with the number 1, the creature ranked first on Earth's Apex Predator Index, the professor announced, is not a separate species at all. It is a subset of humanity. The Galactic Council has designated them as human mothers. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The words seemed to hang in the air, not quite making sense. Then Thalmor raised a tentacle, his 3 black eyes blinking in confusion. Professor, I do not understand. How can a demographic subset of a species outrank the species itself? Are these mothers genetically different from other humans? No, Velkith replied. Genetically, they are identical to all other humans. The difference is behavioral. When a human female has offspring, something changes in her mind. Something that the research team struggled to explain with conventional biology. He tapped the console, and the display filled with data, charts, and recorded incidents. Allow me to explain. The research team spent considerable time analyzing threat response patterns across all Earth fauna. They were looking for predictable behaviors, ways to calculate danger levels based on observed reactions. Most species followed logical patterns. When threatened, they would fight if they could win and flee if they could not. Simple survival mathematics. The display showed graphs comparing different species, their threat responses plotted on neat curves. Then they studied human mothers, Velkith continued, and the mathematics broke down completely. The display changed to show a series of documented incidents. The first was a security camera recording from a human city. A small vehicle had crashed and overturned, trapping a young human inside. A woman ran to the vehicle and, with her bare hands, lifted the back end of the car off the ground long enough for others to pull the child free. That vehicle weighed approximately 1,500 kilograms, Velkith said. The woman who lifted it weighed 60 kilograms. Under normal circumstances, such a feat would be physically impossible. Her muscles should have torn. Her spine should have fractured. Instead, she held the vehicle for nearly 30 seconds without apparent injury. A second recording played. This one showed a mountain trail. where a large feline predator had cornered a woman and two small children against a cliff face. The woman put herself between the predator and her children, screaming and waving her arms. When the creature lunged, she met it with her bare fists, striking it repeatedly in the face and eyes until it retreated. That was a mountain lion, Velketh explained. A predator capable of killing adult deer with a single bite. This woman had no weapons, no training, and no apparent combat experience. She defeated it through sheer aggression and refusal to yield. More incidents scrolled across the display. A woman walking through a war zone to find her missing child. A mother surviving 26 hours in freezing water while keeping her infant above the surface. A woman fighting off 4 armed attackers who had threatened her family. Using only a kitchen tool, Senna's fur had flattened completely against her small body. Her ears were pressed so tightly to her skull that they almost disappeared. This is a fear response? Like cornered prey? Becoming dangerous? No, Velketh said firmly. This is not fear. Fear triggers a flood of stress hormones that impair judgment and physical capability. What human mothers experience is something different. The research team has termed it hysterical strength, but even that name does not capture the full phenomenon. He turned to face the class directly, his 4 compound eyes moving independently across the rows of students. When a human mother perceives a threat to her offspring, her body undergoes a transformation. Adrenaline floods her system, but instead of impairing her judgment, it sharpens it. Her pain receptors partially shut down. Her physical limitations temporarily expand by factors of 3 to 5. Her tactical thinking becomes not cloudy and panicked, but clear and ruthless. The display showed brain scans comparing normal human response to maternal protective response. The differences were stark and dramatic. But the physical changes are only part of it, Velketh continued. Human mothers also display behavioral patterns that defy rational analysis. New information appeared on the display. Case studies. Long-term incidents that spanned years or decades. This woman, Velketh said, highlighting one entry, spent her entire life savings hiring investigators to find the criminals who harmed her son. When the legal system failed to prosecute them, she tracked them across 3 continents over 7 years. She found each one of them. Another entry. This mother lobbied her government for 15 years to change laws protecting children. She met with thousands of officials. She gave hundreds of speeches. She never stopped. The laws were eventually changed. Another, this woman was told her sick child could not be treated at the nearest hospital. She drove 800 kilometers through a severe storm, keeping her child stable through the entire journey. The medical professionals who received them said the child should not have survived the trip. The mother had kept her alive through sheer force of will. Professor Velketh's scales had shifted to their palest shade, almost white. The research team interviewed human soldiers, law enforcement officers, and combat specialists. They asked these trained fighters a simple question: what do you fear most in a confrontation? He paused, letting the silence stretch. The most common answer was not enemy combatants. It was not wild predators. It was not weapons or vehicles or natural disasters. The most common answer, given by warriors who had faced all of these things, was a mother whose child had been threatened. Kor's stone body shifted with a grinding sound. Surely they were exaggerating. Speaking in metaphor, the research team thought so as well, Velketh admitted. So they conducted additional studies. They set up controlled scenarios. They measured response times, aggression levels, and tactical decision-making. In every test, human mothers outperformed every other demographic group. They were faster, more aggressive, more willing to sustain injury, more creative in their violence, and most disturbing of all, they showed almost no hesitation. The display showed a final piece of data, a comparative chart of threat response efficiency across all Earth species. A human father is dangerous, Velketh concluded. A human soldier is dangerous. But a human mother protecting her children is. According to the Galactic Council's comprehensive analysis, the single most dangerous thing on planet Earth, they are ranked above every predator, every venomous creature, every disease-carrying insect. They are ranked above humanity itself. Slowly, one by one, Every alien in the lecture hall turned to look at Lucy Marsh. She met their stares with calm brown eyes. Her expression was not aggressive. It was not threatening. It was simply peaceful, the way a person might look while watching a sunset or listening to gentle music. Then her hand moved. It was a small gesture, almost unconscious. Her palm pressed gently against her abdomen, resting there with a tender protectiveness that seemed to transform her entire presence. Professor Velkith saw the gesture. His 4 compound eyes widened, and his scales shifted from white to an even paler shade that had no name in his language. He turned fully toward her, his thin body rigid with sudden understanding. "Miss Marsh," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Are you? Do you have?" Lucy's calm expression shifted into a small, warm smile. The smile of someone holding a precious secret. "I found out last week, Professor," she said. Her voice was soft, but in the silent room, everyone heard her clearly. "I was going to announce it after class today." The lecture hall erupted into chaos. Students scrambled from their seats. Some rushed toward the exits. Others pressed themselves against the walls. Thelmer's tentacles flailed wildly as he tried to put distance between himself and the human. Senna remained frozen beside her friend, too shocked to move. In the middle of it all, Lucy Marsh sat calmly in her seat, one hand resting on her belly. Still wearing that gentle smile, she was no longer just an exchange student. She was now the most dangerous creature in the room. The news spread through the Galactic Academy like fire through dry grass. Within an hour, everyone on campus knew. Within 6 hours, the story had reached the Galactic Council headquarters. Within 2 days, it was being discussed in government buildings across 1,000 worlds. A human mother was living among them. Lucy found the reaction both amusing and exhausting. She had not changed at all. She was the same person she had been the day before the lecture, but the way people treated her had transformed completely. Campus security was tripled around her dormitory building. Armed guards stood at every entrance, not to keep her contained, but to keep her safe. The logic, as the Academy's security chief had explained, was simple and terrifying. If anything happened to Lucy or her unborn child, if she perceived any threat at all, the consequences could be catastrophic. It was safer for everyone to make sure she never felt endangered. 3 days after the lecture, Lucy sat in the Academy's botanical gardens. It was her favorite place on campus, a domed building filled with plants from hundreds of different worlds. The air was warm and humid, filled with strange scents and colors. She had found a bench near a fountain and was reading something on her tablet when a familiar small figure approached. Sina moved carefully, her silver fur catching the colored light filtering through the dome. Her ears were partially raised, a sign that she was nervous but not truly afraid. "May I sit with you?" the Falari asked. Lucy smiled and patted the bench beside her. "Of course. You never need to ask, Sina. We are friends." Sina climbed onto the bench, her small body barely making a dent in the cushion. For a long moment, she sat in silence, her copper eyes fixed on the fountain. "You knew," Sina finally said. "You knew what they would find when they studied your species. You knew what they would learn about human mothers." Lucy considered the question carefully before answering. "I suspected. We do not really think about it on Earth. It is just ... normal. Mothers protect their children. That is what they do. Every species does that, do they not?" "Not like you," Senna said softly. "My mother loved me. She cared for me. She taught me how to survive. But she would not have lifted a vehicle with her bare hands. She would not have fought a predator without weapons. She would not have crossed continents to avenge me." "How do you know that?" Lucy asked gently. Sina's ears flickered. "Because she had the chance once. When I was young, another Falari hurt me. Stole from me. My mother reported it to the authorities and accepted their judgment when they did nothing. She moved on. She told me to move on, and that was wrong." "I do not know anymore," Sina admitted. "I thought it was sensible, practical, the way things should be handled. But then I think about those recordings Professor Velkith showed us. That mother who tracked criminals for 7 years, The one who drove through the storm. The one who fought the mountain lion. She paused, her small paws gripping the edge of the bench. They did not move on. They never moved on. Lucy was quiet for a moment, watching the water flow from the fountain. My mother drove 14 hours through a snowstorm once. I was sick at university, nothing serious, just a bad cold. She did not even think about it. Just got in her car and started driving. I told her she was crazy when she arrived. She just laughed and made me soup. Sina turned to look at her friend, her copper eyes wide. That is exactly what terrifies the council. Soup. No. Senna almost laughed, but the sound caught in her throat. The fact that she did not think about it, there was no calculation. No weighing of risks and benefits. Her child was sick, so she went to her child. 800 kilometers of dangerous roads in a storm, and she did not hesitate for a single moment. Lucy nodded slowly. I used to think that was normal. I am starting to understand that it might not be. They sat together in comfortable silence for a while, watching alien plants sway in an artificial breeze. Students walked past on distant pathways, carefully avoiding the area where the humans sat. The Academy Board held an emergency meeting yesterday, Sina said eventually. Professor Velkith filed a formal recommendation with the Galactic Council. What kind of recommendation? He wants Earth to be reclassified. Right now, your planet is designated as a developing world. Limited contact. Restricted trade. Observation protocols. Sina's ears swiveled nervously. He is recommending full diplomatic status. Sovereign territory rights. Trade agreements. Military non-aggression treaties. Lucy raised her eyebrows in surprise. Because I am pregnant? Because of what you represent, Sina replied. Every human woman is a potential apex predator. The Council has finally understood what that means. Your species does not just survive in hostile environments. You thrive there. You adapt. You build. And you protect your young with a ferric. HFY. That makes our most elite warriors look like frightened children. Lucy placed a hand on her belly, feeling the warmth there. The child was still too small to move, but she could sense its presence somehow, a new life growing inside her. Her daughter, she somehow knew, though it was far too early for any test to confirm it. There is something else, Senna continued. Something the Council is discussing in closed sessions. What? They are trying to decide if humanity should be offered a seat on the Council itself. Not just membership in the galactic community, but actual representation. A voice in how the galaxy is governed. Lucy stared at her friend. The Council has existed for thousands of years. They have never offered a seat to a species that has only been spacefaring for a few generations. They have also never encountered a species like yours. Sina's voice dropped to a near whisper. Some of the older Council members are afraid. They see humans as a threat, something to be contained or controlled. But others have a different perspective. They believe that a species capable of such fierce protection might be exactly what the galaxy needs. What do you mean? Sina looked around, making sure no one was close enough to hear. There are threats out there, Lucy. Things the galactic community does not talk about publicly. Empty spaces where colonies used to exist. Silent sectors where ships disappear. The Council has been managing these threats for centuries, but they have never truly defeated them, and they think humans could help. They think human mothers could help. Senna's copper eyes were deadly serious. A creature that will lift vehicles, fight predators, and cross continents to protect its young. Imagine what such creatures would do to protect their entire species. Their entire world? The Council is terrified of that potential, but they are also fascinated by it. Lucy did not know how to respond. She had come to the Academy to learn, to experience something beyond Earth. She had never imagined that her presence would spark discussions about the future of galactic politics. What do you think? Lucy asked finally. You know me better than anyone here. Do you think humans deserve a seat on the Council? Sina was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thoughtful and careful. I think you are the strangest creatures I have ever encountered. You are soft and fragile, with no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. You come from a death world where everything wants to kill you. And somehow, you not only survived but conquered every environment on your planet. You tolerate a creature that has killed 50 billion of your kind because you are worried about ecological balance." She paused, her small paws fidgeting in her lap. "And when your children are threatened, you become something else entirely. Something that does not calculate odds or weigh consequences. Something that simply acts, with a power that should be impossible and a determination that knows no limits." Sina looked up at Lucy, her copper eyes meeting brown. "Yes," she said. "I think you deserve a seat on the council, because I think the galaxy needs creatures who love that fiercely, even if it also terrifies me." Lucy smiled and reached out to gently touch her friend's paw. "Thank you, Senna." They sat together as the artificial sun cycled toward evening. Two unlikely friends from worlds that could not have been more different, bound together by something stronger than fear, and inside Lucy. Her daughter continued to grow. 6 months had passed since the lecture that changed everything. Lucy Marsh stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, her pregnancy now clearly visible beneath the formal diplomatic uniform she wore. The child inside her was active today, kicking and shifting as if aware that something important was happening. The grand chamber was the most impressive room Lucy had ever seen. It was built into the heart of an ancient space station that orbited a dying star. Its walls made of a translucent material that allowed the orange and red light of the star to filter through in constantly shifting patterns. The room was circular, with tiered seating rising in every direction around a central platform. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of species filled those seats, representing worlds that Lucy had never heard of before coming to the Academy. She was not alone on the platform. Earth's official diplomatic delegation stood with her. A team of 12 humans who had arrived 3 months ago when the Council's invitation had been formally extended. They were experienced negotiators, politicians, and scientists, all carefully selected to represent humanity's best qualities. But Lucy had been asked to join them for this final ceremony because her presence carried a symbolic weight that no amount of experience could match. She was the human mother who had sparked everything, the first of her kind to exist openly among the galactic community, the living proof of what the Apex Predator Index had revealed. The council speaker approached the central podium. He was a Morvathi, an ancient species whose bodies were made of living crystal. Light passed through him and scattered into rainbows that danced across the floor. His voice, when he spoke, resonated through the chamber like chiming bells. "We have gathered today to formalize a historic moment, the integration of humanity into the galactic community." The chamber fell silent. Every eye, every sensor, every form of attention turned toward the central platform. "The research conducted by the Academy of Xenobiology has given us much to consider," the speaker continued. "We have learned that humans are resilient. They survived and thrived on a world that should have killed them 1,000 times over. They adapted to every environment, from frozen ice to burning sand. They built civilizations, developed technology, and eventually reached beyond their own sky." He paused, his crystalline body shifting to catch the light at a new angle. "We have learned that humans are formidable. They have claws made of metal and fire. They have teeth that can reach across the void of space. When threatened, they do not simply defend themselves. They pursue. They adapt. They remember. No creature that harms a human is ever truly safe from retribution." Lucy felt the delegates around her tense slightly at these words. The speaker was not offering false comfort. He was acknowledging truth. "But we have also learned something more important," the speaker said, his voice softening. "We have learned that humanity's greatest strength is not their physical capabilities or their technological ingenuity. It is their capacity for love, for protection, for sacrifice." The crystalline eyes of the speaker settled on Lucy. "A species that produces individuals willing to move mountains for their children is a species that understands something fundamental about the universe. They understand that some things are worth more than survival. Some things are worth fighting for without calculation, without hesitation, without limit." Lucy's hand moved to her belly as her daughter kicked again, as if in agreement. "Earth is hereby granted full membership in the galactic community," the speaker announced. All territorial rights are recognized. All trade agreements are approved. All diplomatic privileges are extended. A wave of applause rippled through the chamber, but the speaker raised a crystalline hand for silence. There is one additional matter. A special provision has been added to the Galactic Charter at the recommendation of the Security Council and with the approval of all member worlds. The chamber grew quiet again, waiting. No military action against human population centers will be sanctioned by this council, the speaker declared. No covert operations targeting human families will be permitted. Any species that deliberately harms a human child will face the united response of the galactic community. Lucy heard murmurs of surprise from some of the delegates. This was not standard protocol for new member worlds. This provision exists not because we wish to protect humanity from outside threats, the speaker continued. Humanity has proven quite capable of protecting itself. This provision exists because we wish to protect the galaxy from what humanity would become if such harm occurred. He turned to face the human delegation directly. Wait. Have seen what a single mother will do when her child is threatened. We have seen the lengths she will travel, the forces she will fight, the impossible feats she will accomplish. Now imagine that reaction multiplied across an entire species. Imagine 8 billion humans united in protective fury. With all their technology and all their determination focused on a single enemy, the speaker's voice carried no fear, only solemn recognition. The galactic community has faced many threats in its long history. We have survived wars and plagues and disasters beyond counting, but we have never faced anything like that, and we hope we never will. The ceremony continued with formal documents and ritual exchanges, but Lucy barely heard any of it. Her mind was elsewhere, thinking about her mother back on Earth, about the baby growing inside her, about the strange path that had led her from a small town in Ohio to this moment at the center of galactic politics. That evening, after the ceremony had ended and the delegates had returned to their ships, Lucy found a quiet observation deck overlooking the dying star. She activated her communication device and placed a call across the vast distance to Earth. Her mother's face appeared on the screen, warm and familiar. Susan Marsh was 63 years old, with gray streaked through her brown hair and laugh lines around her eyes. She had been a school teacher for 30 years before retiring, spending her career helping other people's children learn and grow. Lucy, Susan exclaimed, her face lighting up. How did it go? Did they vote? They did, Mom. Earth is officially part of the galactic community now. Susan clapped her hands together with delight. That is wonderful, sweetheart. I knew you could do it. I am so proud of you. Oh, I wish I could be there with you. You kind of are, Lucy said softly. You and every mother who ever lived. They're all a little afraid of you, Mom, Susan laughed, the sound warm and familiar across the light years. Afraid of me? I am just a retired school teacher from Ohio. I have not frightened anyone since the Henderson boy put gum in Mary's hair back in 1998. What did you do to him? I called his mother, Susan said simply. She handled it. Lucy smiled. Of course she had. Mothers always handled it. They gave us full membership, Lucy said. Trade rights, diplomatic status, everything. But they also added a special rule to their charter. No one is allowed to hurt human children. The entire galaxy agreed to it. Susan was quiet for a moment, processing this. Because they are afraid of what we would do. Because they are afraid of what you would do. Human mothers, specifically. They ranked us at the top of their danger list, above every predator on Earth, Susan said, her voice carrying a hint of something fierce beneath its warmth. They are not wrong, are they? Lucy felt her daughter kick again, and she placed her hand on her belly. In a few more months, she would join the long line of human mothers. She would understand firsthand the protective fury that had shaped her species. The love that could move mountains and terrify empires. No, Mom, Lucy said. They are not wrong at all. Susan's expression softened as she noticed the gesture. How is my granddaughter doing? Active. I think she knows something important happened today. She does. Babies always know. Susan leaned closer to the screen, her eyes glistening. You tell her that her grandmother is counting the days until she can hold her. And you tell anyone who might be listening that if anything ever happens to either of you, there is no corner of any galaxy where they will be safe from me." Lucy laughed. But she also knew her mother meant every word. Owl tell them, "Mom, I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. Both of you." The call ended, and Lucy sat alone on the observation deck, watching the dying star cast its warm light across the void. Somewhere out there, across impossible distances, her mother was probably already planning the trip to visit her granddaughter. No distance would stop her. No obstacle would turn her back. That was what human mothers did, and now the entire galaxy knew it. Lucy smiled and rested both hands on her belly, feeling her daughter move within her. Soon, she would be a mother herself. Soon, she would understand completely. She could hardly wait.